Jai Shri Krishna. Today is Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026, and today moon is still in Purvashada Nakshatra in Sagittarius Rashi, right? And Jupiter, we know that had a great transit yesterday to its exaltation Rashi, which is Cancer, where the first nakshatra in Cancer Rashi is the fourth pada of Punarvasu. It is Pushkara Navamsa plus Varkotama. And in the sky also you see that there is a Parivardhana yoga in transit between Moon and Jupiter. Moon in Sagittarius Rashi, which is owned by Jupiter, and Jupiter in Cancer Rashi, which is owned by Moon. So that is in transit. Yeah? Okay. So today the video I'm going to talk about is about Chandrashtama, right? Chandrashtama from a transit perspective. All right, Chandrashtama. So I'm going to decode every layer of Chandrashtama. This is very important, right? Please listen carefully. Please understand it from a birth chart to a transit chart. So I'll decode both the angles to explain it. So before we start today, the usual bells and whistles. The first thing I would tell you is please do, like the video if you like it, for sure. And please, click the bell button, subscription for the notifications as well, so that you are updated with the latest, greatest videos I publish on a timely basis. Yeah. Second is please share your comments in the comment section. Yeah, many of you have shared, so I really appreciate it. Okay, it doesn't matter good or bad, please share, because I would also know what is really working and what's not, and what do I need to change. I know one of you have commented about not understanding the way I speak. I don't know if it is the speed, but yeah, so you can also adjust the speed in YouTube as well. Okay, all right. I'll take if other people also say the same thing. Yeah. So third is, but because I didn't understand whether it was the topic of what I said or the way I speak. Yeah. Okay. The third one is I do teach weekly live sessions in Clubhouse, which is the Clubhouse app. So you have to download the app regardless iOS or Android, and then you have to enroll yourself into the Clubhouse, the Vedic astrology within the app of Clubhouse. Yeah, it's a free download of the app. It's a free app as well as free enrollment, and the classes are also free. Yeah, Wednesday 7:20 p.m. Central Time. And as we speak, today is a Wednesday. You can see I'm wearing a green t-shirt as well, because I go with the day of the week. So today I'll be discussing in Clubhouse about the importance and how to kind of connect your D1 chart, your Rasi chart, to your transit, to the transits happening in the sky. Okay? All right. So Chandrashtama. So we are here today, we are going to decode Chandrashtama. So first we'll break it down in multiple layers. First thing is, what is Chandrashtama? There is a misconception that people who are born at a certain time, it can be last month, last year, last week, yesterday, 10 years ago, whatever it is, right? If they have moon in the 8th house, it's called Chandrashtama. It is not. First of all, it's not. Okay, it's not. Right? When moon comes to the 8th house in your birth chart, okay, listen carefully, in your birth chart, okay, when moon is in the 8th house, it means few things, right? Moon in the 8th house in your birth chart also means, that you have to separate from your mother, okay? Or your mother's longevity will be a question mark, or your mother's sickness is also a question mark in terms of she may not be healthy. Okay, this is a very high level rule. You have to see which Rashi and who is it conjunct with, who is he aspected by, etc., and the strength of the moon, right? You also may have to leave the motherland, which is your birthplace. All of this can come to moon in the 8th, but this is not Chandrashtama, right? This is not Chandrashtama, so keep that aside. Okay, Chandrashtama means right? So when moon is transiting, okay, when moon is transiting, it comes from one Rashi, and then within that it goes via the nakshatras, right? When the transit moon is 8th to your natal moon, that is called Chandrashtama. So we'll discuss that, and we'll say why and what and all. Yeah, we'll see all those things. This is by moon sign. So when you are born, which mean, and at the time of your birth, if moon is in your Aries Rashi, which is Mesha, okay? So moon in Aries at birth time, right? The transit, the 8th will be moon in Scorpio, Vrishika Rashi, okay? I will say for all the 8 moons. Moon in Taurus, the 8th, or Rishabha Rasi, the 8th will be Dano or Sagittarius when moon comes in transit. Okay, when you're born with moon in Gemini Rashi, Mithuna Rashi, right? And in the transit, when moon comes to Capricorn, Makara Rashi, it is the Chandrashtama. Okay, when you're born with moon in Cancer, which is Kataka Rashi, when the transit moon comes to Kumbha Rashi or Aquarius, it is Chandrashtama. When you're born with moon in Leo Rashi, right? And when in the transit, the moon comes to Pisces or Meena Rashi, it is Chandrashtama. When you're born with moon in Kanya or Virgo Rashi, when the transit moon comes to Aries or Mesha Rashi, it is Chandrashtama. When you're born with moon in Libra or Tula Rashi, and in transit the moon comes to Taurus, it is Chandrashtama for you. When you're born with moon in Scorpio, right, and then in the transit, when the moon comes to Gemini, which is Mithuna Rashi, then that is Chandrashtama. When you're born with moon in Sagittarius, Dano Rashi, and in transit, when moon comes to Cancer, right, that is Chandrashtama. Okay? When you're born with moon in Capricorn, Makara Rasi, then in transit, when moon comes to Leo or Simha Rasi, that is Chandrashtama. When you're born with moon in Aquarius, in transit, when the moon comes to Kanya or Virgo Rashi, that is Chandrashtama. When you were born with moon in Pisces or Meena Rashi, and then in transit, when the moon comes to Tula, Libra, right, that is Chandrashtama. Okay, so I've broken down for all the 12 Rashis based on your natal moon sign, what does Chandrashtama mean for you? For all the 12 Rashis. Okay, all right, okay. So now, what is Chandrashtama? Even though we have understood Chandrashtama, why Chandrashtama is good or bad, what you are supposed to do, and what are the remedies. Okay, all right. So you have to understand, right? Chandra Ashtama means 8. Chandrashtama means moon. Okay. Now, moon's most difficult house is the 8th house, which is also Marana Karakasthana in the Lagna. Okay. Now, first thing, right? Second is, let's look at Kalpurush, because Kalpurush is where you get the answer. Aries, Mesha Rasi, right? The symbol of Aries, that is the first house. Okay. And the 8th house, which is also like the death or demise. The 12th house is a moksha house, which is different. The 8th house, which is like death house, longevity of your living, that is also owned by Mars. The 1st and 8th are owned by Mars. The 1st house is a fire sign. The 8th house is a water sign. Okay. Now, moon is exalted in Taurus at 3 degrees, and it's debilitated at Scorpio at 3 degrees in Visakha Nakshatra, 4th Pada. Okay. Now, moon's own Rashi is Cancer. Moon's Mula Trikona and exaltation is Taurus. So, moon actually gets debilitated in Scorpio, in the Kal Purush 8th house, which is a sign of watery house, emotions. Okay, see, the Scorpio water sign, unlike the Cancer water, which is used for such good purposes, the Scorpio water is not. It's a still water by a dirty water by a well, lake, or a pond, where you cannot use it for any purposes. It's a still water where you have mosquitoes breeding, all those things, frogs, insects, all of that, right? So moon here gets debilitated. Okay, plus the 8th house is actually a Marana Karakasthana for the moon. Okay, MKS, Marana Karakasthana for the moon. Plus moon is also getting debilitated, right, in the 8th house. All right, plus it's also the end of the, in a way, the 1st and the 8th, I said, right? Mars, and 8th is also Mars. So it's kind of the end, the longevity here, right? See, moon is a mind, and your mind needs stability. Think about anything with liquids, right? Extra liquids. Think about alcohol. It's a liquid. What happens when you take alcohol, right? You cannot focus. Your mind gets disturbed. Why the mind? Even though you have it and it goes to the stomach, it goes to the mind straight away. And sometimes you get a headache, right? Your mind. So similar effects is seen for the moon when it comes to the 8th house in the Kal Purush of Scorpio, where it gets debilitated, right? Of course, we know the nakshatras of Visakha, 4th pada, 4 padas of Anuradha and Jyeshta. I mean, Anuradha moon does literally well. The Jyeshta is the difficult one, and the Visakha, 4th pada. Okay? All right. So now, if you see, as I explained, the 1st and the 8th. All right, 1st and the 8th. That is where the difficulty is. So what happens is, when the moon is coming 8th to your natal moon, that is called Chandrashtama. Okay, so right now, right, let's take an example. Somebody is born with a Taurus moon, right, at the time of birth. Right now, moon is in Purvashada Nakshatra in Sagittarius, right? So this is Chandrashtama for the person who would have been born with a Taurus moon. And usually, our books say very clearly that during your Janma Nakshatra day, which is different, right, the day you're born, when moon nakshatra it is, don't take long distance travels, don't start anything new. Same thing, Chandrashtama is something you should not start anything new. Don't take long distance travel. Don't do anything important to start with. Anything continuing, you can continue big things. Example, you want to start a job on Chandrashtama. Don't do that. Wait. Okay, if you want to buy a vehicle, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, if you want to, start construction of a house, don't do that on Chandrashtama. See, Mars is one of a very important planet. I've done videos on Manglik and stuff, right? But Mars has the highest number of professions as a planet, as a Karaka. And Mars, if you see, is also important. Is the Karaka for vehicles, right? With Venus, in a way. Why is also coming to vehicles is, see, Venus is the Karaka for vehicles, okay? Mars is the Karaka for the accident. So indirectly is influencing the vehicle. Okay, indirectly, not directly. The Karaka for vehicles is Venus. Now, all of it is coming in the 4th house. So the natural 4th house has the Karaka for land, real estate, home, vehicles, etc. There are like bunch of planets which comes in the 4th house Karakas. Okay, and you see there is movable property, immovable property, materialistic gains in the 4th house as Karakas. The biggest one, if you see, and then mother also. Moon as Karaka for mother and materialistic gains. Venus has Karaka for all the movable assets, okay, like conveyance, vehicle, right? Car, trucks, SUVs, etc. Okay. Mars has Karaka for um, immovable properties, home, real estate, land, agricultural land, all of it, right? Mercury plays also a part in a way here in the fourth house. Okay, Mercury plays because of the mind coming involved here, right? And the buddhi for materialistic gains also, knowledge. So now Mars plays a Karaka with vehicles because of the accident stuff. Okay, accidents, that is very important here. Okay. And in the natural fourth house, Mars gets debilitated. That is the challenge. The accident part is coming because it gets debilitated in the fourth house. Okay. All right. Now, coming back in the natural first house and eighth house, when moon comes, let's say, to the eighth house, it is also the house of accidents and death, which is also a problem, and it's moon's Marana Karakasthana. Okay. So remember this in your Ashtama, Chandrashtama, right? Time. I explained for all the 12 moon rashis. What does Chandrashtama mean for you? What is your Chandrashtama? You have to be careful in not taking important decisions. Also on your Janma Nakshatra day, do not take any important decisions. For Janma Nakshatra, I'll do a separate video. I'm not going to go into it. Okay. So now, right, when does Chandrashtama don't work? What are the exceptions to Chandrashtama? This is a rule, okay? 8th transit moon, 8th to a natal moon. That is Chandrashtama. Transit moon, 8th to a natal moon. When does Chandrashtama doesn't work? That will be also a thing because there is an exception. So, and when will it be very bad? Both the cases, okay? When does Chandrashtama don't work? And when will Chandrashtama be very bad? So I'll tell you when Chandrashtama doesn't work before I'll tell you when Chandrashtama will be very bad. Okay. And this is again transit moon in alignment with your natal moon. That is Chandrashtama. Remember that. When Chandrashtama won't work is when, okay, when Jupiter, listen carefully, first planet is Jupiter. Jupiter aspects that natal moon, aspect, not conjunction, that natal moon, okay, natal moon by its 5th, 7th or 9th. And the 9th is the strongest than the 7th, 5th, and the 5th is strongest than the 7th. So I'll explain now in a minute also for that. Suppose somebody is born so many years before with moon in Aries, your Chandrashtama will happen when moon comes to Scorpio. Okay? But now the Chandrashtama won't affect you a lot when moon comes to Scorpio because Jupiter is in Cancer aspecting that moon in Scorpio. Okay? All right. First. Second, we'll take another example. Okay? Next example is, we'll take if you're born with moon in Gemini. Okay? Your Chandrashtama in transit will be when moon comes to Makara, Capricorn. Here, right, the Chandrashtama will not work effectively now. Why? Because Jupiter in transit is in Cancer, is using its 7th aspect on the moon. Okay? And Jupiter is a guru. You should not forget that. Okay. Next, we'll give another example. People born with moon in Leo. Okay? Moon in Leo at the time. Chandrashtama will be when moon comes to Pisces. Here again, Chandrashtama may not show its full power because the transit Jupiter in Cancer will aspect the moon in Pisces, which is also Jupiter Rashi, okay, through the ninth aspect. But Saturn is there in Pisces. So that is where the catch is. Because Saturn is there and moon will be conjunct, there will be still a problem. So the Jupiter transit is, so how do you take it, right? When you have Saturn there and then Jupiter is aspecting. First, something wrong will happen. Jupiter aspect is a guru, so help will come. A reversal will happen. It is not that the Jupiter aspect will prevent something wrong to happen. It cannot, it won't. The Saturn is there, the wrong thing has to happen. Okay, some difficulty has to happen. That's what I mean in Chandrashtama. Okay. So I explained the power of Jupiter. Now with Chandrashtama. Same thing is when sun is opposite to the moon. Meaning what happens is, as we speak right now, sun is in Taurus. Okay. And moon was in Scorpio just a few days ago, Visakha, Anuradha, Jyeshta. So if you are born with moon in Aries and the full moon was happening in Scorpio, right? This is called the Vaigasi Visakha full moon. It was happening. But the full moon peak was in Anuradha Nakshatra this time. So Vaigasi Anusha Nakshatra, that's the full moon. So this time again, you won't see the Chandrashtama because sun was there. When sun will move out now, in another 12 days or so, sun will move. So that 1 month, it won't happen. Okay? All right. Same thing next is when Venus is sitting in the Rashi opposite to the moon, opposite. The next, so first is Jupiter, second is moon, second is sun for the moon, third is Venus. Another guru, second guru, which you cannot eliminate. So whenever Venus is sitting in the Rashi and aspecting the moon, the Chandrashtama won't work. So I'll explain again how. So now Venus is sitting in Gemini. Okay. So for people with Taurus moon, people with Taurus moon, the 8th will be in transit, will be in Sagittarius, which is a Jupiter Rashi. Moon in Sagittarius, okay? That is the Chandrashtama. People born with moon in Taurus. The last three padas of Kritika Nakshatra, the 4 padas of Rohini Nakshatra, and the 2 padas of Mrigashira Nakshatra. If you are born with moon in any one of these nakshatra, when moon comes to Sagittarius, then you will see typically the Chandrashtama, right? That is how you see it transit. But because Venus is now sitting in Gemini aspecting the moon, that Chandrashtama won't work. Because moon and Venus will aspect each other. Okay? So this is the time when Chandrashtama may not show its full power. Okay? All right. You also have to see, this is 3. The 4th one you'll also have to see is the moon waxing or waning or with strength or without strength at the point of Chandrashtama. Okay. So right now moon is still with strength and aspected by Venus and Mercury. Right. When moon is not without strength, it is 4 places before or after the sun. That Chandrashtama will be strong. Okay, 4 places before or after the sun. Okay, Kendra basically from the sun. The first Kendra from the sun and the first Kendra before the sun. Right, the 2 Kendras. That Chandrashtama period will work badly. All right. Now, look at also next thing is when Rahu is sitting in that Rashti and when moon is going, the Chandrashtama will be very strong. So we saw the plus now, we'll see the minus. So perfect example. Moon with Cancer people, moon in Cancer at the time of birth, Punarvasu 4th pada, the first 4 padas of Pushya, and the first 4 padas of Ashalisha. If you're born with moon in Cancer, so Chandrashtama is moon in Aquarius, and now Rahu is sitting there. So this is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. Yeah, when Rahu sits, same thing Ketu. Also, but Rahu is more difficult than Ketu. That's the difference. So same thing Makara Rashi people. If you're born with moon in Capricorn, Uttarashada 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Shravana 4 padas, and then the 2 padas of Dhanishta Nakshatra. When moon comes to Leo, that will be the same thing you will see. When moon comes to Leo. Yeah, because Ketu is sitting there, the transit moon. And the next one, right, is Pisces, where Saturn is sitting, right? So Kataka Rasi people, when you're born, moon in, because now what happens, the 8th will be Rahu out. So Kataka Rasi, 8th Rahu problem. Simha Rasi, 8th Saturn problem. Little bit blessing is Jupiter is aspecting it, but it's a waning moon. Okay, the next one is Makara Rasi people, 8th is also the problem, Ashtama, Chandrashtama. Okay, this is the most important thing. These 3 Rasis will face the highest. Moon with Mars is still not that bad, unlike Saturn, Rahu, Saturn, Ketu, 3 planets. Yeah, Moon and Mercury conjunct is a problem. I've done a video about Moon Mercury also, the dementia thing. Watch. Moon Venus conjunction, not good. Moon Jupiter conjunction, which is Guru Chandra Yoga, also I won't say not so great. It has still got some good things. That's the thing. Yeah, okay. So we have seen Chandrashtama, pretty much everything. Now the last thing, I told what to do, what not to do, right? The important, anything you continue to do, it's okay. New thing, don't start. Then last but not the least, okay? The last but not the least is, I would tell you, is remedies. Shiva, Lord Shiva. Any Rudra Japa, Shiva Japa, Om. You can call, I gave mantras also. Om Shivaya Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya. One is for praying, one is for calling on. Anything with Shiva, pray. Or Parvati. You can see Shiva himself has restored the so-called, the crescent moon, the Tritiya moon here. So Shiva is the number 1 deity for you to catch hold of. Or Parvati. Right? Okay? And you can go to any Shiva temple, Shiva shlokas, Parvati temple, Parvati shlokas. But try to avoid doing key things during Chandrashtama period. Yeah? But again, don't confuse yourself when you have moon in the 8th house in your natal chart to Chandrashtama. Okay? That is also, moon in the 8th, 6th, 12th can also give you healing occult science learning in your natal chart. Yeah? So we'll cover that later. And this is the kind of the end part of the Chandrashtama, right? I hope this was helpful. And please ensure to follow all the details I've shared, including the remedies. Okay? Jai Shri Krishna. I'll see you soon in another video. Thank you.